Okay, so what we're doing in this chapter is we're going to look at one more type of procedure for inference that we can make decisions on and run hypothesis tests on. And this is called chi-squared. And so chi-squared only works with categorical data. And so what we're looking at is we're looking at groups of data, and it can be multiple variables. And we're going to see there's 3 different types of tests we can run, but it's only for categorical data. The symbol for chi-squared is this. And again, we're looking at categorical data that has multiple groups. Okay. So our conditions for this is first that it has to be counted data, meaning that our tables, our data is just counts. We can't have measurements. So it has to be counts of things. It has to be that each group is independent of each other. And there has to be something that has to be random, whether you randomly selected a sample. So it's really our samples random. And then the last one, the expected cell frequency, and you have no idea what this is right now, but we'll learn what this is. The expected cell frequency all must be greater than 5. So once you've checked all your conditions, now what you have to do is you have to figure out what kind of test you're going to run. And so there's 3 different types of tests. There's the goodness of fit, the test of homogeneity, and the test of independence. Okay. So the goodness of fit is what it sounds like. Does our data, our sample, fit what's supposed to happen? Does our sample fit or align with what is supposed to happen? The technical statsy way to talk about it is we're going to compare expected with observed. What did you actually see versus what was observed? An important thing to keep in mind with goodness of fit, it can only look at one variable at a time and one sample at a time. It cannot look at multiple variables. So in class, we looked at the color of M&Ms. It can only look at that variable, which is color. Okay, so for a chi-squared test of homogeneity, we're going to compare observed outcomes for several groups to each other to see if there's evidence of a difference among the groups. So again, we're going to compare observations, observed outcomes for several different groups and see if there's a difference, okay? And so let's look back up here. Chi-squared looks like it's what's supposed to happen. So what's supposed to happen? Chi-squared test of homogeneity looks for a difference. Those are the key words of what's happening. And then our last chi-squared test is the chi-squared test of independence, and it's used to determine if there's an association between the groups. So all three types of test have the same conditions. One is it doing what it's supposed to do? Is there a difference, or is there an association? So this first one also only could do one at a time, one variable and one sample. Chi-squared test of homogeneity and chi-squared test of independence can look at 2 variables. It can look at multiple variables. So one of the most important things is you're going to have to figure out which test you have to run because there are different processes. Just so you know, a chi-squared goodness of fit is sometimes called a chi-squared GOF. There is no abbreviation for the test of homogeneity or the test of independence. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of give an example of the ho and the ha, because you still have to write hos and ha's, right? And so there's three different ones. So there's the goodness of fit, there's the homogeneity, and then there's the test of independence. What's nice is that these don't really change. I didn't spell that right. There we go. Okay, so these don't really change. They're going to be the same for each test. Okay, so again, goodness of fit is it as expected. So the ho is it is as expected. And you put the context. So if we were talking about the color of M&M breakdown is as expected. And the ha is it's not. What's nice is you don't have to have any symbols in parentheses. We don't have to have any of that. It's just the written statement. Okay, remember, homogeneity looks for a difference. So the ho is there is no difference. And we're comparing groups between the groups. And the ha is there is a difference. Between groups. And again, nothing to put in parentheses. It's just there is no difference and then there is a difference. And then the last one, we're looking for an association. So the ho is there is no association between the two groups. And instead of groups, you guys would add your context there. And the ha would be there is an association. Okay. I do want to say that these two are the exact same test on the calculator. Same calculator process. Okay. So they're exactly the same. The only difference is your ho and your ha. Knowing how to write those, whether you're looking for a difference or an association. But everything else is the same. Okay, so a chi-squared test looks totally different. It does not look like a normal model. Here's kind of an example. But they essentially, they're high and then they kind of go off. And so they're always really skewed to the right. None of our conditions have to look at things, but this chi-squared value, these are the different tick marks for how far away you are. And the farther or the higher the chi-squared value, the less chance it is of something happening. So this is the chi-squared value. So as you get a bigger chi-squared value, if you get a chi-squared value of 15, 16, 20, bigger chi-squared values, there's a really good chance you're going to have a small p-value and you're going to have to reject the null hypothesis. Okay, but again, the shape looks totally different, but you won't have to figure out how to draw the shape. You'll be able to go by calculations from your calculator.